Hello everybody, my name is Anju, Esther, Balakrishnan. I'm a legal intern of LEXIS and Company, and today I'm here to talk about the essential elements needed for a valid contract under the Indian Contract Act. A contract is basically an agreement enforceable by law. There are some essential elements that are needed in order to ensure that the contract is valid, and these elements can be categorized into two categories, which is substantive elements as well as procedural elements. Substantive elements are offer, acceptance, consideration, capacity, and legality. Offer is the basis, the basic or the beginning of an contract or an agreement, because without an offer there cannot be an acceptance. Without acceptance there cannot be a contract or an agreement. So an offer is the beginning point, and an offer is when one party signifies their willingness to do or abstain from doing a particular action, or intends to obtain the consent of another party to do or to abstain from doing a particular action. Would be known as proposal or would be known as offer. So it's important that there's an intention to obtain acceptance or to ensure that the person is refusing to do the particular action. The offer must be certain, and it must ensure that it does not contain any sort of clause in the contract which makes the person accepts the offer or compels the person to accept the offer. The next one is acceptance. Acceptance occurs when the party to whom the proposal or to whom the offer is made signifies their assent. The offeree has the right to either accept or reject the proposal, but if they accept it, it must be communicated properly. Third one is compensation or consideration. Consideration basically is something of value that's exchanged between both the parties in order to have a valid legal contract, because without consideration the contract can be considered void or null. The fourth element is the capacity to contract. The capacity to contract is basically the competence of the parties, and the competence of the parties is provided under Section 11 of the Indian Contract Act, where it's mentioned that competent people would be majors, which is above 18, people of age above 18, people with sound mind who has the ability to understand the obligations provided under the contract, and people who are not disqualified by the law. The last substantive element is the legality of a contract. The legality of the contract basically means the contract should be lawful in nature, because a contract, as I mentioned before, is basically an agreement enforceable by law. So enforceability of by law is considered to be a major factor in order for a contract to be valid. And the objective of the contract or the consideration provided in the contract must be legal in nature, and if it's illegal, then the contract would be null and void subsequently. So these are the substantive elements. Now the procedural elements. Procedural elements are basically elements that comes under different substantive elements, such as the communication of offer, communication of acceptance, and the meeting of minds. Now communication of offer, as the name suggests, comes under the substantive element, which is offer, and it is basically that the offer needs to be communicated in order to be valid, which means unless the information of the proposal reaches the person to whom the proposal is made, such an offer would not be considered valid. Only until and unless it reaches the ears of the person to whom the proposal is made, it would be considered valid. Communication of acceptance is basically the same thing, but it comes in the sense of acceptance. Until and unless the acceptance or the knowledge of acceptance reaches the offerer, the acceptance would not be valid. It has to reach the offerer, and it has to be made in a proper manner in order to be valid. Now meeting of minds. Meeting of minds basically is when both the parties have recognized the contract and have understood and decided to fulfill their obligations under the contract. It would be known as meeting of minds or mutual assent of the parties. Meeting of minds as well as communication of acceptance comes under the substantive elements acceptance, and it basically is related to acceptance. So now we have understood the substantive elements as well as the procedural elements related to a valid contract. These elements are important because a contract is something that we might come across in our day-to-day life as lawyers or as future lawyers or business related field. If you're in business related fields, contract is something that you may come across. So it's essential to know the feature elements that is needed in order to ensure that your contract is valid. I hope that this video could help you understand the different elements of a valid contract. And if you like the video, please press the like and subscribe button in order to see more law related videos and articles. I hope you have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you for your time and your understanding.